Okay, I'm putting together this video to summarize what we did yesterday in class. So I've got the same data set that I had in class yesterday. So the first things that I always do to it is highlight the header row, make it bold. Then you can highlight the second row and freeze panes, and that makes everything above stay as you scroll down, so you can always see what each cell is referring to. Another thing that you can do, if you hit Command A, that selects everything, and you can filter your data, which puts the arrows here so that you can select if you only want to view, one uh, one thing. So if I only wanted to view California, that's how I would do it. Now I only have the data that is for California, and the rest of it is hidden. And you can see that it's hidden because it doesn't go from 1 to 2, it goes from 1 to 93. So you can see all these green lines here, and it shows that there is stuff that is hidden. So if I want to undo that, I can just show everything. And then I've got it back. Okay, so I am going to sort this all because right now it's sorted by the farmer's market ID, and instead I would like it to be sorted by the state. So I'll go ahead and sort it, and I want it sorted by state. And from A to Z is fine. So if I wanted to add something else, I could sort it by state name, and then I could sort it by, let's do city. And so you can see now it's, Alabama, and then it's going to go, Alaska, Arizona in order. And you can see that the cities are also alphabetized within each state. So that is how you do that. If you want to hide certain data, let's say I don't really care about any of this information before state, I can highlight it, and then I'm just control clicking and hiding. And let's say that I want to hide this stuff too. I can go ahead and do that. This is kind of what we did yesterday. So then I can kind of just see the state the farmer's market is in, and all of these different categories that it might have. And I'm going to hide this one too because I don't really care when it was updated at this point. Okay, so now I have a bunch of information here. What I can do if I were to want to summarize this data, which is something we did yesterday, you cannot add, Y's and Y's, they're not numbers. And so if you want to see how many, for example, markets have cheese in them, you would have to change your Y's to ones and your N's to zeros. So we can go ahead and select all of this information. And then I'm just going to find and replace. I'm going to replace all my Y's with ones. And I'm going to replace all my N's with zeros. And then that will allow me to add them up if I want to. Just wait a minute while it does that. Okay. Close this. Okay, so now we have all of our states, and we have, we've made the data into numbers. So let's go ahead and, do some subtotals. So let's say we want to know how many organic markets are in each state. What we can do is highlight all of our data, and then we can go to subtotals. So we want at each change in state, because we want to know each state. So that means after it'll go through and Alabama, 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 and then when it changes to Alaska, it'll look back and see how many organic farmers markets were in Alabama. So we'll change what we want summarized to organic here, and then hit OK. And then it is inserting subtotals, so you can see that going on right there. And then if you scroll down to the end of Alabama, you'll kind of see what it does here in that it puts the subtotals here. So if you want to just see the subtotals in each state, then you can double click this 2, and what it does is it just collapses all the states, which I could also do by clicking this minus mark, and then you can see that it minimized all of those. But you could also just double click the 2, and then you've got all of this information. So you can, one other thing that we did is say I want to copy just what I see. So I wanted to maybe put in another tab of my spreadsheet the totals for each state. Then I can just select, oops, sorry about that. I can just select those, and then so if I were to copy it now, it would copy everything, even what's hidden, and I don't want that. And so instead, I'll go to Edit, Find, Go to, and then I'll go to Special, Visible Cells Only, and OK. And now at this point, I have to copy it. So I'll Command C to copy it, and I'm going to go ahead and paste it just in a new little tab here, a new sheet. Paste it, and now we have this information, and we have the totals in each state, and it'll give me a grand total at the end, which you may or may not want. I don't want it right now, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Okay, and then if I were to just want the state names, one thing that you can do is the find and replace again. So I can go to find and replace, and I can replace total with just nothing, and then now you can see that I have just the state names. So I have the state names and their numbers, and if I were to want to know which state had the highest number of organic markets, I can highlight everything and sort it, and I can sort it by I don't have a header row on this. I should have put a header row on it, but instead I can sort it by column B, and then I'll do it largest to smallest, and that'll show me the biggest at the top. So we can see that California has the greatest number of organic markets. Let's see here. Okay, let's say that I were to want to do averages to see how percentages to see what percentage of the farmers markets were organic. Then I would want to go back to this information and I'm going to try to unhide everything. But actually, I think if I just copy it into a new tab, then, oops, sorry about that. Then I have all my information back here again, and none of it is hidden, and I am going to go ahead and get rid of all of this information. Since I have a copy of it here in this first tab, I can just go ahead and delete it. And then really I can go ahead and delete all of this because I'm just trying to count how many of each state there are, so I can delete that. And then what I want to do is do the subtotal again. So I'll highlight all of that. I would put the subtotal rows in there because I guess I copied that, which makes sense. But I think I can replace former, or I can replace the subtotals. So I can count the number of states and click OK, and you'll see that I use count instead of sum because you use count for text and sum for numbers. So if I go ahead and double click my 2 again, then it's keeping these old totals, so you don't have to worry about that, but you can see that Alabama has 142, Alaska has 38, etc., etc. Okay, in order not to have to edit this video, I'm going to go ahead and do that again, but with the original data, and then you won't be confused because of those extra subtotals that were there in case you were confused by that. So I'm going to save this as, which I should have done in the beginning, save it as video, and then I am going to open my original farmers market data and just do this subtotals thing again so that you can see it from the beginning. Okay, so I've got this, and I'm going to go ahead and do this bold and freeze the panes like I always do. And then I'm going to go ahead and select all of my data, and I'm going to sort it by the state. And then because I don't care about anything else right now, I'm going to delete anything that's not a state. And then after I do this, I'm going to save this as something different so I don't lose this original file. So now I still always have my original data. Okay, and so again, we're going to do a subtotal. So I'm going to highlight all of my data. Then I'm going to go to data and subtotals. And because we are counting words and we're not counting numbers, we're going to use the count function instead of the sum function. Click OK. It'll just take a few seconds to do that. Okay, and then we have all of our subtotals. So I can double click this 2 again to get rid of all the extra information that I don't need, and then I can see all the numbers. Alabama has 142, Alaska has 38, Arizona has 95, etc., etc. And then if I want to go back and do the percentage of this, I know that this is in alphabetical order. So I'm going to go back to my other sheet, and I'm going to put it in alphabetical order. So I had it sorted before. I'm going to go ahead and insert a row, state, and number of organic markets, and then now it's in order of organic markets, but instead of that, I'm going to just sort it alphabetically. And now it didn't have headers before, but it does now. So I can click my list has headers, and then it'll let me sort it by state. Okay, so now we have all the states in alphabetical order. So, oops, put organics. I'll put total number of markets, and I'll go back to the sheet that I had before that totaled everything, and I'm going to highlight the numbers, but I don't need the total number. And then so that I can only copy what is visible, I'll go to find, go to special, visible cells only, okay, and then I'm going to copy that, Command C, and I'm going to paste it. And so now I have all of the states, the number of organic markets there are, and the number of total markets. Now I can calculate the percentage. And the way I do that is just with your known percentage formula. So I'll go number of organic markets divided by total number of markets times 100. And I can copy this cell, and it'll copy the equation instead of the numbers, so I can actually paste that through the rest of my data. and I have percentages for all of them. And now if I'm interested in knowing which market has the highest percentage of organic farmers markets, I can sort my data by percentage and have the largest on top. And I will find that Vermont has the highest number of organic markets at 61%.